session, we are going to study direct and indirect speech. It's also named as direct and indirect narration or reported speech. So don't get confused. These are different names for one topic. I believe this topic is really very important for your study, whether you are studying at graduation level or you are preparing for some competitive exams like bank PO, SSC, defense services, or we can say even for civil services. Because we have already studied direct and indirect speech in detail, all the rules which should be applied while changing from direct to indirect speech in another video. So in this video, you will find the link given in the description box below. You can click on that and can study direct and indirect speech in detail. So let's get started with the second video. Let's have a quick recap of what we have studied in part 1. What do we mean by direct and indirect speech? Or in simple words, how to define direct speech and indirect speech. In fact, both direct and indirect speeches are two different ways of reporting a statement of a person. Or in simple words, we can say two ways of narrating or saying what someone else said in the past. Just imagine there is a speaker and a listener. What the speaker says, or we can say the actual words without any kind of change of speaker, are quoted within the quotation marks. That's a direct speech. But when the listener reports the words of the speaker to another person, or in simple words we can say when the main idea of a speaker's words is reported by another person in his own words, that's the indirect speech. During this lesson, we will come across many important terms or different grammatical aspects like reporting speech, reporting verb, reported speech, and reported verb. So let's quickly revise all these terms with the help of this example here. Joy said to me, "I don't like ice cream." In this sentence, we have two clauses. One is reporting clause and another is reported clause. Reporting clause is also known as reporting speech. Here in this example, Joy said to me is a reporting speech, and the verb which is used in this reporting speech is reporting verb. Here in this case, we have the word said as the reporting verb. The next clause of the sentence is reported clause. It's also known as reported speech. It's written within the inverted commas, and the verb which is used here in this reported speech is known as the reported verb. In a nutshell, we can say that reporting speech is the first part of the direct speech, and reported speech is the second part of the sentence which is enclosed within inverted commas or quotation marks. Now let's quickly explore the basic rules for conversion of direct speech into indirect speech. The first one is change the pronouns. The second one is backshift the tenses. And the third is change the time and place expressions. Let's understand it through an example. Lisha said to me, "I'm learning to play the guitar now." This is the direct speech. When we change it into indirect speech, it becomes Lisha told me that she was learning to play the guitar then. Now please pay attention to the words which are underlined or written in bold. In the reporting clause, reporting verb in the direct speech, it becomes told in the indirect speech. The second change is that comma and quotation marks are removed, and in place of that comma and inverted commas, we use the conjunction word that. Now in the reported speech, you can see all these three changes: change the pronouns, backshifting the tense, and change the time and place expression. Here, I becomes she. I is a pronoun here, and this is the first person pronoun. So as per rules which we discussed in our previous video, that is the part 1, the first person pronouns like I, we in reported speech are always changed according to the person, number, and gender of the subject of the reporting speech. Here, the subject of the reporting speech is Lisha, and she is a third person singular female, so I becomes she. Now backshifting the tense. As the reporting verb said to is in the past tense, in this case the tense usually shift or move back in time because time has passed between the moment of speaking and the time of the report. So the backshifting of the tenses. Here the present continuous tense is backshifted to the past continuous tense. So it becomes was learning. Am learning becomes was learning. And the last change we notice is the change in the words which express time and place. So words indicating nearness in time and place must be replaced with appropriate words expressing distance. In this example, the word now, it becomes then in the indirect speech. Well, it's clear what is the backshifting of the tense and how to change time and place expressions. But I would like to tell you something in detail about the change or pronouns. First person pronouns like I and we in reported speech are always changed according to the number, person and gender of the subject of the reporting speech. Second person pronouns like you, your in the reported speech are always changed according to the number, person and gender of the object of the reporting speech. Whereas the third person pronouns like he, she, it, they are not changed. A look on the chart of the backshifting of the tenses. You can pause the video and you can note it down. But always remember, if the reporting speech is in the present tense or future tense, then there would be no change in the verb of the reported speech. This verb could be in any tense that is present, past or future. For example, Jay says, I don't like tea. When we change this direct speech to indirect speech, it will be Jay says that he does not like tea. So this tense remains the same, the present indefinite tense. It's also important to understand what's the difference between say or tell. Where should we use say and where should we use tell? Many learners are confused about when to use said, the past tense of the verb say, and told, the past tense of tell, because their meaning are so close. I have seen my students being confused in this area, so I am talking about this in detail. The main meaning of the verb tell is to speak or write something to someone. The main meaning of say is to use your voice to express something in words. The most important tip to remember is that to use the verb tell, the information must be communicated to someone. You can't just tell something, you have to tell something to someone. So, tell is used mainly to share information and normally only when the receiver of the information is mentioned. He loves telling stories. Let's have a look on the first example. Joy said to me, I don't like ice cream. This direct speech, when it's changed to indirect speech, we say, Joy told me that he didn't like ice cream. Said to becomes told, because the receiver of the information is mentioned here, and that's me. And in the next example, Lisha said to Prince, you can solve this puzzle. In this example, the receiver of the information is Prince, so said to becomes told. Whereas the verb say is used for exact quotes or when the receiver isn't mentioned in the sentence. For example, Advik said, Reyansh has been promoted to the next grade. When the sentence is changed to the indirect speech, verb said remains the same said because we do not have someone to whom the information was conveyed. So far we have seen how to change assertive sentences or statements from the direct speech to indirect speech. Now let's learn how to report questions, imperative sentences. Well, interrogative sentences are those sentences which ask questions. Every interrogative sentence ends at a sign of interrogation. There are two types of questions. First type of question is that begins with the auxiliary verb, and second type of question is that begins with WH words or question words like what, where, when, why, how. When interrogative sentences are reported, all these basic three rules change: the pronouns, the time and place expressions, and backshifting of the tense. Apart from these rules, when we report a question, first let us check whether the question is yes or no answer question or it's a WH word question. The question begins with the auxiliary verb, then conjunction word if or whether are used in place of conjunction word that. If the question begins with a WH word like how, when, where, what, then the same WH word is used as the conjunction. And the clause which contains the question in both the cases, whether it's a WH word question or it's a yes or no answer question, is changed into normal word order and with the necessary tense change. And in the end, the question mark is replaced with a full stop because now that question has become a statement. Normal word order is used in reported questions, that is, the subject comes before the verb and it's not necessary to use do or did. It's better to understand these changes while reporting questions through some examples. Are you ready? Asked her mother. When we'll report this question, it would be her mother wanted to know if she was ready. The changes are highlighted here and are presented in another color as this question begins with the auxiliary verb are, so the conjunction word if is used to join these two clauses in this reporting question. Next example is the old man said to the boy, "Where do you live?" When we report this question, it becomes the old man asked the boy where he lived. Please notice that this question begins with a question word where, so the same question word where is used as the conjunction. And the question form is replaced with a statement word order, where the subject comes before the verb. So, where do you live becomes where he lived. The pronoun you changed according to the object of the reporting speech, that is the boy here. There's a third person singular male, so it becomes he. Now let's move on to the next example, that is she said to me, "What are you doing?" Let's change it into the indirect speech. The first change is said to becomes asked. Commas and inverted commas are removed and the conjunction word what is used here. Same WH word which is in the question. Question format is replaced with the statement word order. So the reported speech is she asked me what I was doing. So here you find an interesting practice sheet which has been provided by islcollective.com. In this particular picture we have 12 questions and those questions are being asked by the policeman you see in the picture. He seems to be very strict and stern. The first sentence of this exercise has been done for you. That is, policeman asked me, "Where were you last night?" Indirect speech or reported speech is the policeman asked me where I had been the night before or the previous night. So mind the tense, as the direct speech is in the past simple tense, so it changes to the past perfect tense. You can pause the video here and check the answers on the next slide. Here also, please pause the video and check your answers. I think you must have done well. But if it is not so, don't worry and go back to the video, revise the rules and then return to this exercise and redo it. Because practice makes a man perfect. Let's take up now imperative sentences, how to report imperative sentences or how to change imperative sentences from direct to indirect speech. Let me tell you what are imperative sentences. These sentences are that give an order or a direct command. These sentences may be in the shape of an advice, entreaty, request, or order. When we report imperative sentences, reporting verb is replaced according to the expression of emotions in the reported speech. Usually these verbs are request, order, command, advise, instruct, forbid, etc. Please notice that the reported speech imperatives differ in structure to other reported speech sentences. Here the sentence structure would be to plus bare infinitive. Let's understand this through an example. The teacher said to students, submit the assignment tomorrow. The reported speech of this imperative sentence would be, the teacher ordered students to submit the assignment the next day. Well, it's also important to know how to report negative imperative sentences. When we report negative imperatives, then we simply add in not before the to infinitive. So the sentence structure would be reporting verb plus noun or pronoun plus not plus to infinitive. Now let's understand this sentence structure through some examples. The doctor said, do not overeat. This is a negative imperative sentence in direct speech. When we change this direct speech to the indirect speech, it becomes, the doctor advised not to overeat. Please notice the changes. The first one is the reporting verb said is changed according to the reported speech. And that's an advice here in this example. So it becomes, the doctor advised not to overeat. Exchange we notice is commas and inverted commas are removed. And then we add not plus to plus infinitive and it becomes not to overeat. So the doctor advised not to overeat. The next example is, the officer said to the clerk, do not bring these files. So when we will change this into the indirect speech, we will first notice concept and notion in the reported speech, and that is a command. Because the officer gave a command here to the clerk, so it became the officer commanded to the clerk. Now commas, inverted commas are removed, and here we change the structure as not plus to plus bare infinitive form of the verb, and it becomes not to bring those files. The word these is also replaced with those because the words indicating nearness must be replaced with the appropriate words expressing distance. So these becomes those. Let's have a look on the last example also. Shania said to her mom, please do not leave me alone. The indirect speech of this sentence would become, Shania requested to her mom not to leave her alone. Since the reported speech indicates a request, so the reporting verb becomes requested in place of said. Along with comma, inverted commas, the word please is also dropped off. The sentence structure, that is noun or pronoun plus not plus to bare infinitive, is used here, and it becomes, Shania requested to her mom not to leave her alone. Well, dear students, this is time for practice. You can pause the video here and try to recall all the rules which we have studied in both the sessions, part 1 and part 2. If you want to check your answers, here you are. I hope you must have learned what do we mean by direct and indirect speech, what are the basic rules, and how to apply those rules when we change direct speech to indirect speech. Thank you for watching this. Happy learning.